Hi, and welcome to Meta Egg. Today we're going to revisit Star Wars and 4 things that people, that is to say casual fans, don't know. You can tell us in the comment sections which ones you already knew about, or tell everyone else which ones we don't mention. But you'll see a colossal Mark Hamill Meta Easter egg if you stay towards the end, and you won't even see it coming. Let's get cracking. Now remember to hit that subscribe button, and do it now before you forget. I mean, you might have your mind blown everywhere by the end of this, so let's see it. You know, let's be preemptive. Hit that like, hit the bell so you know when we drop the next egg. Now, as I said before, one of my favorite pastimes on the pre-meme internet was looking at continuity or film errors in movies, Star Wars in particular. The web was full of this stuff back in the day, and so we're going to start there. One of the first things that casual fans may miss are the little gems that hardcore fans have made so legendary as to have actually changed the material itself and the numerous re-released versions that Lucas has sprinkled throughout the decades. Specifically, what I'm speaking about is the Stormtroopers head bonking scene. When they surprise the droids in the control room in A New Hope, the Stormtrooper bonks his head.
Take over. Need to hit.
Later, when Star Wars was reissued, sound was actually added.
Take over. Take over. Take over.
Of course, everyone knows about Luke's magic cup trick. The cup changes hands between takes.
That'll be the end of it. It belongs to us now.
But what is this so? Obi-Wan comes looking for him.
He won't. I don't think he exists anymore. He died about the same time as your father.
You knew my father?
I told you to forget it.
But not many people talk about one of my all-time favorite errors from an Empire Strikes Back, 1980. Beneath Cloud City, as Luke and Vader fight in the cryo chamber, Luke comes off the platform, and then watch this series of events right here as he jumps off. Wait for, there it is, right there. Right there. This is what we will call the trampoline scene. So that's number 1. The things that most people don't see or don't know about Star Wars is the little errors that are all over it. But the prequels are about fixing errors. Let's take a look at George Lucas and his special talent of problem solving with tricks of cinema. To get around the limitations that he faced in the Ridge Tridge, as some have been known to call it. Like this one of the very first sand people scenes. Luke is knocked down by a sand person. And since the footage wasn't extensive enough to get what Lucas wanted, Lucas just rolled the tape back. He looped it. This was like the Boomerang app on Instagram. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. By the time the prequels came out, Lucasfilm, along with Industrial Light and Magic, had developed Pixar film technology. So I mean, Pixar came from Star Wars, and they actually share some of the same crew. But along with CGI, they also were screwing around with mixing different filmed takes to morph them together to give themselves the perfect take. Computer advances built basically for Star Wars gave the industry things that we take for granted today. This scene with Samuel L. Jackson has been manipulated. You can see the herky-jerky sudden stop in his movements.
May the Force be with you. May the Force be with you. May the Force be with you.
And here in the legendary opera scene with Anakin and Palps from Sith, you can see Hayden Christensen's face move as it's morphed with another take.
He taught his apprentice everything he knew. Then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. He taught his apprentice everything he knew. Then his apprentice killed him in his sleep.
Let's slow that down. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now again, Natalie Portman and this really corny, classic Naboo scene from Clones, again with Christensen. We see his hands morph into another hand from another take.
Hear everything soft and smooth. Hear everything soft and smooth.
Lots of changes took place from the previews of Revenge of the Sith and to when it actually was on screen. Here, look at Vader's hands. To the one in the movie, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now, there was an awkwardness to this scene itself. That's probably why your brain didn't like it. It's because something wasn't right. Something was registered not right. So that's another thing that a lot of people don't know about Star Wars, the changes in digital editing. Next thing that most people do not know is that George Lucas borrowed from just about everything under the sun. Is not even a hyperbole or exaggeration. This gives the material a richness of culture, especially if you learn the references.
Who was his father?
There was no father.
So not just ideas and context, but sometimes using old footage as sort of like templates. The trench scene from A New Hope is almost frame for frame the same as certain airplane movies. The dogfights can even be synchronized. Certain movies like Battle of Britain from 1969.
Red 3, this is Red 1.
Even using the code name of Red Squadron. And another movie, Dam Busters, circa 1955. Actually, the whole themes of the dam stands in for the Death Star.
Drop a 10-ton bomb from 40,000 feet that would seal itself in the roots of the wall. Well, the shock waves would be tremendous. A real earthquake.
But could you hit a target that size?
George borrowed from everything. Old westerns, samurai movies, and even this reward ceremony from A New Hope was inspired and plays almost frame for frame like a Nazi propaganda film. In fact, J.J. Abrams doubled down during Force Awakens. Certain scenes that come out of Triumph of the Wills circa 1935 play exactly the same as the First Order.
Far from here, the New Republic lies to the galaxy while secretly supporting the treachery.
Some scenes are totally inspired by other cinema that George sort of plays homage to. The entrance of C-3PO and R2-D2 into Jabba's palace is like Dorothy and her friends entering the Emerald City.
Who rang that bell?
Goodness gracious me.
Returning to the Vader scene from Sith, it's inspired by Frankenstein.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Perhaps a case could be made for scenes from A Phantom Menace circa 1999 as picture perfect to a little talked about film now, Godzilla, from that same time period, which had actually stole the box office until Phantom Menace stole it back.
There's always a bigger fish.
We also know that the entire epic is based off the Flash Gordon serials from the 1950s.
I mean, we call it space opera, but people don't realize it's actually a soap opera.
Admittingly, Star Wars is not a space opera, as most think. George Lucas himself called it a soap opera. And once you understand that, everything starts to make a lot more sense. Count Dooku is not only Ming, the horrible, terrible, no very good Flash Gordon villain, he's also Victor from Days of Our Lives. Even Mark Hamill's big gig before Star Wars was another soap opera. And you must keep this in mind during the reveal scene in Empire. Just add a little pipe organ.
No. I am the Father.
Oh, and Attack of the Clones. Man, Attack of the Clones. For the love of Anakin.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
All of a sudden, it's a good movie if you just see it as a soap opera. The Star Wars galaxy is littered with characters that are lifted straight from other sources. Jabba the Hutt is this guy from Casablanca. And Jar Jar Binks, well, he's Goofy from old, ancient Disney.
Goofy was the inspiration for Jar Jar Binks. I know you'll look at him differently now.
And once you know that, you can't unsee that. When you know it's a soap opera with these cliche hated characters, you like them more because it's a soap opera with silly stolen characters and their spaceships. It's funny. Boba is the man with no name from the spaghetti western starring Clint Eastwood. His feet even sound like spurs when he walks.
We would be honored if you would join us.
And there's the look of his poncho. The aesthetics carries over into Jon Favreau's Mandalorian, which captures this intertextuality culture of Star Wars perfectly. The Mandalorian is a space western, with all of its plots mirroring western movies. Episode 4, titled Sanctuary, is the Magnificent Seven, which itself is a remake of the Seven Samurai Kurosawa movie. Whew. The series itself plays to Lucas's love of Japanese cinema, and it bears close plot points to Lone Wolf and Cub, a series that sees a samurai travel from danger to danger with his small toddler infant son. First published in 1970, the story has been adapted into 6 films, 4 plays, and a television series. It is widely recognized as an important and influential work and featured in many a soundtrack of the Wu-Tang Clan.
When I was little, my father was famous.
But regardless, I digress. This is another thing more people don't know about Star Wars, and that is it's not Star Wars, it's Film Wars. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about Star Wars is its relationship to mythology. Now, don't go clicking off on me now. This isn't going to cause too many yawns because this section is where we're going to get to our magnificent Easter egg, our meta egg. Our meta egg is here. Here forth lies our meta egg. George Lucas reconstructed his ideas of Star Wars after reading Joseph Campbell's Heroes of a Thousand Faces. In fact, later, after his success, Lucas felt so indebted to Campbell that he flew him into the Skywalker Ranch and produced the very successful and influential series that is now called Joseph Campbell and the Power of Myth with Bill Moyer.
I say follow your bliss and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be.
Joseph Campbell was an American philosophy professor studying comparative mythologies and religions through history. His theory was that all hero myths were the same story, what he called the mono, meaning one, myth, the monomyth. Lucas uses the template Campbell lays down for mythologies and tailored Star Wars as basically paint by numbers. And the sequel trilogy continued this tradition, doing paint by numbers to the original series itself. Well, except for The Last Jedi, because that one's definitely a lot more soap opera than mythology. One of the examples that uses the template of the monomyth is the ancient tradition of tarot. It's actually from the word Torah, which is the old traditional Old Testament and Jewish primary books. To escape the persecution of religion, the story of the gypsies was broken down in the form of a book. And it is a book. It's only shuffleable. And they called this the Book of Thoth. It is their religious story, but shuffleable. The numbers of the cards denote the linear place in the story, the place in the timeline, so to speak. 1, 2, 3. This journey or adventure is taken by the fool. He is the number 0. You can tell because if you put the deck in order, he faces towards the other cards. He travels through them like a movie. And he is in danger because he is distracted by the flower, the symbol of beauty in the world. Not only does Luke just kind of look like the aesthetics of the fool from the old tarot card, Yoda voices his opinion of Luke always looking towards the horizon.
Never his mind on where he was. What he was doing.
Mark Hamill also voiced his opinion, saying that his character was played a fool in The Last Jedi. But that really doesn't make much difference to us as evidence because we don't need it. Mark Hamill's career, we find a hugely popular and iconic character, an archetypal character, if you will. And this is the Joker from Batman.
Why so serious?
Mark started doing the voiceover for the character from Batman the Animated Series cartoon during the 1990s. But it is said that he is the quintessential Joker. And so he has gone on to do voiceovers for other media, like video games.
Ooh, would you sneak in with your bats? Come on, tell me. Batarangs, bat claws, bat snacks.
During multiple speaking engagements, Mark has been asked about the relationship of Luke Skywalker and the Joker. One being a symbol of the light side and the other being a symbol of the dark side. It's an obvious connection and coincidence for fans. What is not obvious is the relationship with the Joker and the tarot deck and the influence it has on the modern day playing deck. All the suits changed. All the trumps went to the royal family. But the story is the same. And what happened to the Fool card? It became the Joker. The Joker is the hero's journey of the Fool. Mark Hamill balances the Force. And that, my friends, is meta. I will cut myself off there. So, please, Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe, and this time in the comments, tell me what you think about Mark Hamill being Skeletor and the new hero's journey called He-Man, Masters of the Universe. It should be said that Jordan Peterson, a Canadian professor of psychology, has many lectures online about the hero's journey in the tradition of Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung. He is often asked, what is the hero's journey from a female's point of view? He answers, when a woman tames a dangerous man, which is essentially the Beauty and Beast fairy tale. Beauty can't find love with her mentally handicapped father. Do it! So she finds love with a guy who is sometimes kind of a dick. This is Kylo and Rey, or Rey and Kylo Ren / Ben Solo. The taming of a dangerous man is the completion of Padme's failure with Anakin. And oh, look at the ending of Rise of Skywalker. It totally emulates Romeo and Juliet and the Lucasfilm War tradition that we talked about earlier.